Well, this is the second YouTube video I've done, and I've been meaning to do this for weeks now, but I'm glad I waited till after the Tory conference, and especially with what's on the television this morning about the McCann girl. So I'm asking you people to listen to what I'm going to make. I'm going to make a statement to David Camaron, and I want you to ask yourselves a question, and it's this: why do I have to ask this question of David Camaron? Why aren't any of the MPs, Nick Clegg or David Miliband or Nigel Farage, why are none of them, or the hundreds of MPs that know what I'm about to say is the truth, why aren't they asking these questions? And the second thing I'll ask you to do is, if you're a tweeter or you know all about this stuff, I don't know much about the internet and I don't know how to use it properly. I'll ask you to make sure that David Camaron gets sight of this, just so that he can't say, oh, I didn't know about that, because that's what they normally say. I want you to make sure you send this to your MPs, your AMs, and anyone in the civil service that you think should know about it. Because here I go. Mr. Camaron, I'm making this statement because no one else seems to have the balls or the gumption to do it. But I'm going to tell you, you're either a barefaced liar or you're too ill-informed to be doing the job. And whichever one it is, you're not fit to lead this country. And you should step down. So the statement is this: over the past, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 weeks, I've heard you say on numerous occasions the British government and the American government have always had a policy not to pay ransoms, and that you don't pay ransoms. Well, that is either a barefaced lie or you're too ill-informed to do the job. But whichever one it is, you're not fit to do the job. You do pay ransoms, and you have done. Margaret Thatcher, Esseltine, Ken Clarke and all the rest of them pigs that were in there at the same time as what I'm talking about know it to be true. You paid the Hezbollah terrorist ransom for the release of passengers off an aircraft that they'd hijacked. And you didn't just give them money, you give them arms. Now, people mightn't understand, they might think, who the bloody hell's this fella? He's just going on about this and going on about that. Well, it's not just me that's going on about it. If you didn't hear about me, Mr. Camaron, telling the government of the day and all the rest of the police and everyone else about this matter, there's Andrea Davison, who was a security analyst, mind you, for the government. She was reporting exactly the same thing at exactly the same time that I was. And where is she now? She was bullied and threatened, and she's ended up living in South America in fear of her life. I don't want to worry her anymore, but there's nowhere in this world that you can go that's safe from these people. And I'd suggest, Andrea, if you do get sight of this, come on, girl, and state your case, stand up and be counted alongside me, because I don't give a fuck about them. What I'm telling you is the truth. The government of Reagan, and along with the British government under the Iron Maiden, your heroine, Mr. Your heroine, Mr. Camaron, you know, the wicked witch is dead. Yeah, she is. They ceded to terrorist demands for the release of hostages. Now, I'll tell you one of the deals, just one of the deals, and you can check this one up because it was on the War Zone on a BBC programme where an ex-CIA man admitted that the Americans, along with the Israeli secret services, paid ransoms for hostages. One of the deals was 720 surface-to-air missiles for the release of some of the hostages. Now, I reported all this in 1989, went into the police station with a bag full of documents, passports, secret bank account numbers, everything, informing them that the arms dealers were supplying weapons to the Arabs, and also that they talked of a plot to kill Princess Diana. That's another thing Andrea Davison was telling you. all at the same time that I was. So for you to say that you don't pay ransoms is a load of crap. Basically what you're saying is, well, we do pay ransoms sometimes, but not for fucking taxi drivers. Now that stinks. It stinks. And the other thing I'll say to you is, you're either, once again, very ill-informed or naive in this case, to think that it wouldn't come to light that the fella you've got doing the job of Chancellor of the Exchequer is a coke-snorting hooermonger. Now, if you didn't know that, you want to kick somebody's ass for not telling you, but I suspect you did know about it, and you just naively thought that no one would ever bring the matter up again. Now, there's a lot of people going to be seeing this who are going to be thinking, God, how does he know that? I know this about George Osborne because it was all over the Australian newspapers and all over the Australian television. So the question is, how come the British public never seen any of this? And the answer to that is, Andy Coulson covered it up. He stopped this story getting given any oxygen. And guess who recommended him for the job? In your number 10, George Osborne. A little thank you, Andy, for covering my little escapade up. Now, if you didn't know any of this, as I say, you're too ill-informed. If you did know about it and thought it wasn't going to come back and bite you in the arse, you're too naive for the job. I can go through a load of bloody stuff. I had to stand there and I nearly choked when I heard you, what you had to say about the NHS and the way it treated you. And I don't disbelieve for 1 minute that they did treat you in the manner that you said. I'm sure that they did make you welcome and treat your sick child as one of the family. But don't try and use yourself as an example to the rest of us. The NHS is full, and I mean full, of doctors that are perverting the course of justice. And this young kid, this Michael Asia, the one that you stepped in and told that, the one whose parents got locked up in Spain while the poor kid's dying in bloody hospital, they were threatened by the doctor that if they kept on questioning his diagnosis and his recommended treatment, that he'd put an EPO in order, an emergency protection order on the kid, and he'd take the child off them. And everyone's looking around as though, oh, this is something unusual. That happens thousands and thousands and thousands of times. It's happening all the time, and I can give you case after case after case. But you never hear about it because they're all done through the fucking secret family courts. Another something that Tony Blair introduced for the benefit of the child, like shite, for the benefit of the child snatchers. Now, this Andrea Davison was also in 1989 reporting the paedophile ring that was operating in Westminster. Oh, and it gets better. A couple wanted to investigate the Elm Street guest house where that fat bastard Cyril Smith was abusing all the kids. You know, the MP? He was grabbed by the throat by Met detectives or CI5 or whatever the other fuckers are, I don't know. He was grabbed by the throat and had a gun put to his head and told to back off. Even a judge, when they went to see a judge about it, said to them that if they wanted to pursue the matter, there would be serious consequences. Now, what does that say to you? And then I've got to listen to another stupid bloody, what are they called, police commissioners, one of these police and crimes commissioners, the same as the one that we've got down here, Christopher Salmon, who I've already told you there's as much use as a chocolate teapot. He's actually covering up crime, this fella down here, the same as that fella that has covered up over the 1,400 kids. And all they've got to do is say, oh, well, I didn't know. Well, what are we paying them hundreds of thousands of pounds a year for? If all they've got to say is, I didn't know. And then you hear the police, oh, this is the best one, the fucking police have got the cheek to say, well, we didn't want to investigate it in case we appeared racist. Huh. Well, here's my advice to the police. If you don't want to appear racist, stop going around shooting unarmed fucking black men. Because every time you lot want powers to repress the crowds and all the rest of it, all these protesters, you want to fire plastic bullets and shoot water cannon at them and all the rest of it. Every time you want more powers, like Theresa May's talking about, you shoot a black. You cause a riot, you stand back, you let them all run mad, and then you go, oh, we need more powers. No, you don't need more powers, you need less powers. The powers you've got, you're abusing. And over this Madeleine McCann girl, right, let me tell you something. Another thing that you said, Mr. Big Cheese, that I've instructed the Metropolitan Police to open the investigation into the Madeleine McCann child. And then you went on to appeal to anyone who had any information at all to come forward and tell the police, and it will be investigated. That is a load of crap. Must be, and I'm not going to go writing stuff down anymore. I've got stuff written on backs of papers. I'm not scripted on this. I'm just telling you as it is. So if I can't remember some of the names, that's because of my age and the medicine and the treatment I've had off the NHS. But basically, I got in touch with the Metropolitan Police almost 4 years ago. 4 years, remember. And I said that I had information that they should hear with regard to the Madeleine McCann girl. And that was to a girl called Nikki, a receptionist at Scotland Yard. She phoned me back 5 minutes later, and this is what she said. I've passed the information over, and someone from the murder squad will be contacting you by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Never heard a thing. Still haven't heard. Well, yes, I have heard of them. I have heard something from them, and that was about 6 months ago. I've got the letter over there. And basically what they said to me is, I believe you have some information regarding the McCann girl. We will be in touch. We will be in touch with you, if appropriate. Now, not only have I written to them and told them that I've got information, I've actually written to Christopher Salmon on I don't know how many occasions, stating that I had this information. I didn't trust the Dyfed Powers Police. Who could he tell me to go and get in touch with to give this information to them? And the biggest telling thing, the biggest worrying factor is, in all of the replies that I received from Christopher Salmon, from his chief constable, from the police complaints department, and all the other people I've been in touch with about this, is he never even mentioned it in any of the replies he sent. It was as though I'd never asked the question. The truth of the matter is, when I was first, this come up in a conversation, which was over in a place called Gozo, I didn't take any notice of it. I thought that the fella that had told me was just talking bullshit. But you see, I thought he was talking bullshit when he said to me he was giving me my life back to stop taking the medication that I was on. I didn't need it, and I never had done. And when I told him, well, the doctors seem to think it's keeping me alive, what he said to me was, I am as good as your doctor now. Stop taking the medication. You don't need it, never have done. Well, I didn't take any notice of him. But then something else happened. And I stopped taking it in the December. I woke up and I thought to myself, all right, put your money where your mouth is. And I stopped taking the medication. And guess what? My health improved. It improved that much that I come back and I sat on the steps of the assembly on protest. In the pouring rain, got soaked to the bleeding skin. And I got a little piece in the paper about it, and that was it, finished. Right? Then I went and seen all the doctors and all the complaints departments that you want to go to, reporting what had been done to me. And not only was I just saying all this, I had the hard evidence to prove it. I've got 2 sets of prescriptions that don't match the printout from the chemist that dispensed the medication and the printout from the doctor that's supposed to have prescribed the medication. And there's thousands and thousands of tablets have been deleted. There's letters that have obviously been forged, signatures that have been forged. They don't even look anything at all like the handwriting. There's one doctor, completely different handwritings, but supposed to be the same doctor. They've done everything in their power to cover this up, and this is what is happening. This is what is happening in the NHS. Now, every time someone mentions Freemasons, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. Well, I'll tell you something. I didn't even know what a bleeding conspiracy theorist was until, well, about 2000, when I realised exactly what was happening, the way the financial services were covering things up and being able to stop investigations was exactly the same way as the arms dealers were doing it, and the government intervention and the way the government was stepping on it. Now, getting back to these arms deals and all the rest of it, and you turning around and saying, oh, we don't pay ransoms, right? How about making ISIS an offer? Not offering them arms, not offering them money, not offering them anything that's tangible, but just doing the right thing. And the right thing to do is say to them, release all the fucking hostages, and if you do, we'll put an international arrest warrant out for Tony Blair and have him brought up as a war criminal. Because you know, as well as the great British public know, he stood up in the House of Commons and lied to Parliament and took us into an illegal war. And we are now suffering the consequences of that man's actions. And just last night I was watching a thing on Rwanda, and guess who's down there with the fella that committed all the genocide? Your buddy William Hague, your little Yorkshire pal, who you can't do the accent for, and of course you've got Tony Blair, the court and the fella that killed 1 million people, that was responsible for 1 million people's deaths. Now that just doesn't make sense to me. So what I'm asking you to do is get someone, so if you want to, for a start, if you want to take me to court, if you're saying I'm lying or what I'm saying is slanderous, take me to court. But just don't make it a secret court like you do at the family courts. Let's get it all out in the open. No gagging orders, none of this other bloody crap. Listen, the Met Police not only have ignored what I've got to say about Madeleine McCann, but they also withheld statements from the Portuguese. And what did they say? Oh, well, we were having a bit of a turf war with the Portuguese police. Well, I'm very sorry, but I don't think that's very impressive. They want to go into a turf war, whose job it is to do this, instead of working with them to find the child. No, it's all a cover-up. Now, I know quite a bit about this, from what I've read, from what I've seen, from what I've been told and all the rest of it. And I'll tell you now, it's all very suspicious. But the information I got was off the same gangster that gave me the information about my medication, which has proved to be 100% true. As a matter of fact, I wrote to the Police and Crimes Commissioner, and the Commissioner up in London, the Met fella, and said to them, I think you're not investigating this because you've talked to the Dyfed-Powys police and they've said I'm a vexatious complainant. And they're covering up the doctors down here, because it's like I said in the police, in the first video, it was called Dr. Death and His Police Buddies. Now, I'll go on a little bit more about this. I went to a meeting the other day about this thing being awarded a contract for the trust. There's 15,000 patients, there's 3 doctors. That means that this doctor, Drunken Duncan he's known as, is responsible for 5,000 people. I'm telling you now, there's 5,000 people at risk and no one is taking a blind bit of notice. So when I brought this up with this, whatever the name is, from the trust, the assistant director of the trust, she said, "Oh, you can't say that, it's slander." "Oh, is it?" I said. So I give her a copy of my book and I said, well, if what I'm saying is slander, that book is libel. And I've given it to doctors, I've given it to the chemist, I've given it to hundreds and hundreds of people around here for nothing. Will you please tell me why no one's knocked on my door and arrested me for slander, or is threatening to take me to court for slander? I'll tell you why they're not. Because I'm telling the fucking truth. Everything I've said, there's proof. I'm not going to get up here and come onto YouTube and send you a message to the whole British people and tell you a load of lies. I've got the evidence there and it's indisputable. Look, even Peter Hain, when I showed him it, he turned round and said, that can't be a clerical error. The police have got to investigate this. And that was it. But the trouble with your MPs, they all know what's going on. They're all scared of their jobs. They know that if they upset the apple cart, their jobs are gone. They're all living under the fear of the Freemasons. And believe you me, alright, call me old-fashioned, but we'll go through it. The arms dealers, they sat there, and I was living with them, declared that they were Freemasons. Matter of fact, John Waite was boasting that the Major was going to get him into the Freemasons. I'd already been approached to join the Freemasons when I was on the QE2. And it wasn't because I was some sort of star, it was because I've got a criminal past. They wanted me in with them, so I'd fall in line with all the fiddles that were going on up there. So that's the first lot. So we know now, I was approached on the QE2 by Freemasons, the arms dealers were Freemasons, the financial services is full of Freemasons. Christopher Salmon down here, he's a Freemason. Now let me tell you how he answered me. I asked him that question. I asked him, are you a Freemason? And that's a straightforward enough question. His answer, over these secret societies, I'm not affiliated to any of the societies you've mentioned. Oh, that's what you call a Masonic 50-50. Because he might not be affiliated. So I wrote back and I said to him, I never asked you where you're affiliated. I asked you whether you're a Freemason. Because you don't have to be affiliated. Being affiliated means that you're affiliated to a certain lodge. So you're not affiliated. Are you a Freemason? Never got an answer. Same way as he ignored me over the Medal of McCann girl. So someone had better come down and either lock me up and accuse me of lying, or accept that what I'm saying is the fucking truth. And I'd like to know why all these journalists, these media moguls and all the rest of it won't do nothing about it. Trevor Kavanagh from The Sun, the political editor, I give him loads of it. I give him a dossier like that. There was no disputing the cover-up in the financial services. And do you know what he said to me? It's not political enough. Well, I wonder if he's changed his mind because of the depression that we're in. And you keep on telling us that things are getting better. George must have been snorting coke again for him to stand up and say that. I can see he's lost a lot of weight, so maybe he's fell back into his old habits. Don't you think you better check on that? Get him to have a drug test. Let's all know the result of a drug test on him. I'd like to see half the MPs and AMs down here have a drug test as well. Because Roderick Lynn Thomas come out to talk to me when I was on the steps of the Assembly. And he knelt down and he was giving, oh, what's all this about, Peter? What's all this about? And I said, listen, if you lot think I'm fucking stupid, you've got hold of the wrong fella. I know all about your coke and Viagra parties. His fucking jaw nearly hit his knees. And then guess what he done? He went in and gave the wrong book award to the runner-up. Everyone was laughing at him. He went the colour of boiled shite when I said that. Because what I'm telling you is the truth. There's a group down here that are running everything. There's not just me that's been telling the police, well, actually I haven't told the police, there's a group down here that have been telling the police that of a paedophile ring that's in operation around Ammanford, in the town, all over Camaron, and the police have done nothing. Now, if you take into consideration that at the time that they were doing all this and the police were doing nothing, Terry Grange, who was chief constable, was later on sacked for protecting a paedophile judge. Now this fella, like the one down in Rotherham, were in charge of the children. And we've still got a woman down in Rotherham, £110,000 a year, to be looking after these kids and to know all this, who all she says is she didn't know, yet reports were put on a desk about it. How come they can just say they didn't know and there's no charges? And then he's got the front to say he's not standing down. Eventually he has stood down. Oh, and there was a big thing, he's not getting any golden handshake. No, but he's retaining his pension. You should have taken it off him. And all this crap about, oh, you can't prosecute the likes of Fred de Shred and all these clever bastards because they might go and work somewhere else. Well, that's fine. But you know what you could do? And there's already a law there. The law comes under false advertising. It's called false accounting. And it's directed at the CEOs and all the board members. If they have profited from a crime, they can have their assets seized. So what you should have done is, with the likes of Fred de Shred and all the fucking rest of them that have been guilty of what they've done to the British people over their endowment policies and the life assurance policies and the liberate and all the frigging rest of it, is take all their assets off them. That'll clear the deficit. Take their assets off them, take them to court, charge them with a criminal offence, send them to prison, and then say, right, you want to go somewhere else and get a job? You go and try, because you can't get back into the financial services with a police record, especially for fraud, corruption and misappropriation of funds. So it's taken me weeks to get round to doing this, but I've done it now. So I want you to get in touch with me if you've got the, I won't say the balls, the kahoonies or anything like that. I'll just say, if you've got any sort of decency that you want to find out what's going on, then get in touch with me. Don't take me to a secret court. Take me to court if you want. Lock me up in prison for a few weeks. I don't give a shite. But let other people look at the evidence I've got and make a judgment. Because if you're going to the authorities to... Well, Anne Cloyd, God bless her, and she's one of the good ones. Anne Cloyd, she put me in touch with these people. She gave me a telephone number of these people that have been set up to look at the state of the Welsh NHS. The state that Edwina Hart, the heart with the Edwina Hart, the heart with no heart, it all happened on her watch. And yet she told Anne Cloyd that she knew nothing of any complaints. Well, she must have forgot about me, because I chased around the steps of the assemblies, so much so, she was the one that phoned up ex-Lieutenant Colonel John Skipper of the CWC, Community Welfare Council. And he said to me, oh, he said, that's the first time that's ever happened. Edwina Hart, the Health Secretary herself, has asked me to help you with your case. Yeah, well, he was another Freemason, so I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't have much faith in him right from the beginning. But after going on, and I've put the 2 recordings of the meetings I had online, by the way, he spent more time with the doctor after the interview than he did with me during the interview. And he kept on intervening. Every time the doctor was on the back foot, he would intervene and give the doctor time to think about what he was saying. This daft bastard doctor, you know what he turned around to me and said? I like to ride motorbikes, but I'm safer in a car. So I looked at him and said, what? He said, well, I like to ride motorbikes, but I'm safer in a car. I said, what the fucking hell's that got to do with anything? He said, well, it's just like your medication. It was all preventative. Well, if there was nothing there for it to prevent, then it was abuse. At the time, I hadn't had the copies. Well, I did have the copies in my possession of the prescriptions, but I'd never know. I'd looked at them 1,000 times and I'd never noticed what had happened to them. And then one night, I gets up, or 4 o'clock one morning, I gets up and I started looking at them again, and then the drugs stood out like in bold print. And I looked at the dates and I thought, Jesus Christ, there's like 7 years of medication has been deleted. Now, I went straight down to the chemist the next day and I said, can I have a printout of the medication? And then he thought it was on about another drug. He gave me a printout of the medication, and the printout from the chemist just doesn't match the printout from the doctors. The doctors, there's loads of stuff missing. The chemist, it's still on his sheet. So I said to him, can you just give me medication that isn't prescribed? Oh, no, he said. I can only dispense what's on the prescription. So there we've got it. Now, with all this evidence, why haven't the police done anything about it? I'll tell you why. Because Camaron is a Freemason, Phil Williams is a Freemason, Drunken Duncan, he's a Freemason, Andrew, what's his name, Adam Price, he's a Freemason. They're all fucking Freemasons. So if you're saying there's nothing wrong, these are just a benevolent group of old men, they seem to be getting involved in a lot of bloody stuff. The truth is, they're a satanic group of bloody profiteers and gangsters. And my advice was,